you'll do that. It doesn't make me any difference what we call it. It's easier sometimes for one guy to learn a new name than it is for 30 some guys to learn a new name. And but I don't really think there's any particular group that has it easier than any other group.
You pick his brain at all in this process, even just on some of the individuals you're inheriting here?
Dick? No, I haven't really. I've always wanted to have a relationship with him in some ways because I've always really admired what he's done in his career. It's phenomenal, but really have not had a chance, no. We've been really kind of caught up pretty much in just learning our guys, getting to know our guys, plus we're a new staff, and really kind of getting used to each other.
What's your assessment of the talent level of the secondary and where Malcolm fits into the group?
Well, Malcolm fits in just like with all the guys. I mean, I think we got a good group. Again, it's really hard to sit and assess, where we are at this point because there's a lot of learning going on, and a lot of times when you're learning something new, you may not play quite at the same speed that you're eventually gonna play at when you really feel comfortable with what we're doing. It's just like we put in a new coverage yesterday, and I wanted to remind these guys that when I put that same coverage in, 4 years ago at Baltimore, it looked exactly the same way. It wasn't bad, but it was a long ways from being perfect. But what they're seeing on film sometimes when I show them a film is for a lot of years and a lot of reps of doing something. I feel good about, those guys in that group back there, and Malcolm certainly is one of them.
As the players, how much do you give guys a complete clean sheet, you guys, and as opposed to looking back at last year and looking at tape and so forth? How do you balance that?
We give everybody a clean sheet. Be honest with you, looked at a little bit of film from last year just to kind of really kind of look at the scheme that they played to see how it would relate to some of the things that we're going to teach, more than I actually looked at how every individual played. Every job that I've had, whether it be New England, whether it be Baltimore, and now Tennessee, I feel like everybody deserves a new shot. And a couple years ago, I know there was a linebacker we had at Baltimore that was not playing very much for the group before me, and he ended up being a starter for us in the Super Bowl year. And I just felt like he deserved. I don't need to know anything good. I don't need to know anything bad about somebody. I need to make up my own opinion, as coaches need to do. I think everybody deserves a clean slate and get and a restart. What you did in the past really is really irrelevant to what we're going to do in the future.
Who was that backer?
Jameel McClain.
But on the flip side of that, guys that have had a strong reputation of being good players like Casey or Rakpo, when you watch them from afar, obviously I guess you probably formed some sort of opinion on them, just casually.
Yeah, certainly.
But what's different about seeing how they work up close?
Well, I don't know them until I get to watch them work up close. It's like when I went to Baltimore and there was a guy named Ray Lewis there. Kind of already knew a little bit about him before I ever got there, but then watching him in practice and really kind of finding out really who he was like, just like Jarrell and those guys, and Arakpo and Derek and all those guys. What you see and what you hear comes to fruition when you actually watch them practice and watch them play. I mean, those guys come out here and practice every day hard, and I'm very, very pleased. They are what they're advertised, and that's great.
Is this line a little bit smaller than what you're used to?
Is what?
The defensive line a little bit smaller than what you've got a lot of big guys.
Yeah, probably a little bit overall, but I don't think we're bad size. What you got to do as a coach is figure out what a guy does best and then put him in a position to let him do what he does best. I mean, we had guys at Baltimore, Timmy Jernigan wasn't a very big guy that played pretty good defense for us up front. Then you have guys like Brandon Williams who were big. Well, it's the same thing we have here. We have some big guys. We have some other guys. We just got to figure out how to use the personnel the best we can possibly use it. And if that means changing our scheme a little bit from what I'm used to, hey, I've done that before, done it every year. Every year's been
Transition.
different.
Sorry, what's this transition been like for you from sort of being resolved to be retired and then jumping back in?
I don't know if I was ever resolved, to be honest with you. It was really easy, especially with it being Mike making the phone call to me. I really had reservations of whether or not I really wanted to retire at the time anyhow. And it just made my decision pretty easy to not and to come here. Some of the reasons, were family type reasons that I was going to retire. It had nothing to do with anything else other than the fact that maybe the opportunity to go see some of my grandkids, because I got a lot of them, a lot of boys that they're starting to play sports and things like that. And I thought maybe this was a good time to do that. What I really didn't realize was how my occupation affected our family as much as it did. I talked to somebody just recently, after I retired, I kept coming home just for that couple of weeks, and my wife always seemed like she was a little more depressed than I expected. And I thought, I haven't been home long enough to have her send me back to work. But she kind of said something one night, said something about, my whole life's been as a coach's wife, and I don't know what my identity is right now. And then what really got me a little bit was I FaceTimed with a couple of my grandsons back in Ohio, and they kind of seemed down a little bit. And I go, what's wrong with you guys? Grandpa's going to come watch you play baseball and stuff. And they go, Grandpa, what uniform do we wear? What jersey do we wear? We've always been used to being a part of it. And I thought, man, they're going to miss it a lot. So all those things kind of played into the factor, too, of making an easy decision to come back.
What's it like for the family to transition from wearing Patriots stuff to Ravens stuff to now Titans gear?
They love it. There's not much of a transition. They transitioned from the Patriots stuff, took it right off the same day, and put on the Raven stuff. And the other day, that my daughter sent me a picture of the two boys heading off to school with their Titans gear on. So wherever Grandpa is, that's where they are.
When I got here, he talked about front multiplicity and coverage consistency. Can you talk us through kind of coverage consistency and what your aim is there?
What you're trying to do is consistency means you're trying to play similar concepts or things like that. It doesn't necessarily mean you're only playing one or two coverages. It just means that some of the concepts of a coverage can carry over into another coverage. And so once they kind of learn those things, it just keeps getting repeated and repeated and repeated. I'd like to be more, a little more precise, but I really don't want to talk about scheme particularly and what we're doing. It's just that the guys are starting to get kind of honed in a little bit. This is the way we play a certain thing, a certain coverage, and there's a lot of carryover maybe into the next coverage.
And zone involved in all of that?
Everything's involved in that.
How's Evans and Landry coming along as far as acclimating themselves into what you need from them in the scheme and with the veterans?
I think they're doing a good job. I think all the rookies are, the free agents, all the guys that we've brought in are really doing a good job. The thing of it is that what you ask of them right now is just that they're paying attention in the classroom, they're trying to learn, and they're trying to do what you're coaching them to do. That's really what you're looking for. You don't, to have expectations that a guy's going to walk out there his first day coming out of college and walk onto an NFL field and be perfect is not realistic. They're going to make mistakes. The thing of it is what you want to find out on all these guys, and it's even true of veterans, is if a guy makes a mistake, can he then correct it after you've corrected him? That's what really you're looking for. You don't expect it to be perfect the first day out. And I think those guys are all doing that. I'm very, very pleased with the entire group that way.
What did you learn from, I guess, Mike Vrabel's coaching style in the few months you've been here that maybe you didn't know?
Nothing. I said, I don't know when the heck the last year was that I ever coached Mike. I guess maybe 2008, somewhere around there, when he left us in New England and went to Kansas City. I said at that point in time, this guy's going to be a great coach someday. Didn't have any idea whether it be at college level or at the NFL level. He's just the thing about Mike is he's everything that you expect and you want out of a player. He's tough. He's an overachiever. He's smart as heck. He's got an incredible work ethic. So when I'm watching him and watching his style of coaching, I'm not surprised one bit at any of it, to be honest with you.
What's Kevin Dodd done with his clean slate to this point?
Just working hard, and we'll see how he just keeps progressing.
To see out of him? What do you want to see out of him?
Just like everybody else. I don't really expect to see any more than I do anybody else. I just need to see consistency and being productive. I mean, that's really what you're looking for.
Sorry, is he very much an outside linebacker? Or
He is both. He's kind of a hybrid. He can be an outside backer, and he can also have his hand in the dirt and play as an end.
I think Rashaan Evans could be the C.J. Mosley of your defense.
That's the way I would never compare anybody to anybody. That's like saying would C.J. be Ray Lewis or would somebody be somebody else. Rashaan's got to be Rashaan, and we'll see. Obviously, we drafted him, we liked him, or we wouldn't have drafted him, but to compare him to anybody, I don't think that's fair to him, nor is it fair to C.J. Mosley.
What are you seeing on the other side of the ball, and what's the competition like during the OTAs competing against the offense every day?
It's good. It's a little bit, to me, it's always, in an OTA, is a little bit of an advantage to the defense from the standpoint of really the offensive line cannot come off and just railroad you and block you because we're not in pads and we're really not allowed to do that, and the contact's got to be minimal. And I think that's a disadvantage, obviously, to the offense. Even when you pass rush and you're doing a drill, I think the defense has an advantage because the offense can't cut, they can't do all the things they can actually do in the game. But I think going against Marcus and going against the receivers, Delaney, I mean, it's been great competition.
How deep into the install are you right now? How much have you given these guys, and how much do you expect them to know at this point?
Well, we are into the install probably a little over a third of what we would probably install, and we will try to come out of OTAs having it all installed. And we won't have it perfected by any means, but at least if you put it in and at least hear it, whether or not we get a lot of reps on it or not, at least they've heard it, so when we come back to training camp, it's not the first time they've heard it. They've actually, you may go out and do something, it just may not work today against the offense the way we would do it against another team. Something we might not even do against our offense. But we might go out and rep it one time, but at least that one time the guys at least have had an idea of what it is, so when I go back and talk to them in training camp, getting ready for a team, getting ready for a preseason game, or the first game against Miami, at least there's some recall there.
Any early impressions on a guy like Daquan Jones as he comes back from injury?
I think he's working hard. I mean, he's been not been able to do a lot of the team activities just because he's doing rehab, but the activities and stuff that he's doing, I've been very, very pleased with him. Like I have really everybody. I'm not disappointed in anybody at this point in time, nor am I sitting here bragging about we're going to go out and light it up either. So, I mean, it's just that's what OTAs are for, to find out what we can do, how we can do it, and how good we are at performing it.
How's a young guy like Kevin Byard? Do you see him sort of taking charge at all? I mean, he hasn't been in the league long, but obviously coming off.
You don't have to be in the league very long. There's certain guys that just have an innate ability to be leaders. Hopefully we got a lot of them, and Kevin's certainly one of them. I think he's taking charge back there. He is very, very conscientious, and I love that, especially with the safety. I mean, he studies as much at home as he does here. I mean, it's not like, okay, I'll leave the building and I'm forgetting about football. He'll come in and tell me, what we always try to keep ahead of him and let him know what's coming in the next day, and he'll come back the next day and have a question on something we haven't even covered yet, which tells me then he's doing all the right things. He's looking at the things, he's studying it. He's a professional. I mean, that's what pros do. This isn't, 20-hour rule with college football anymore. This is their profession, and he's very much a pro.
What's been your up-close opposite field impression of Marcus Mariota, defending?
Well, I remember more from last year watching him on film than really from here in OTAs, because, to be honest with you, here in OTAs I'm more worried about us and not spending much time watching him, and we're not game planning for him. The guy's a tremendous athlete. He can hurt you in so many different ways, not only throwing the ball and getting them in the right play, but the biggest thing, too, is he's such an athlete. You got to be careful of him getting out and using his legs on you. And the other thing is, too, is just being around him and around the building. Again, I think he's a consummate pro. I mean, I think the guy has got a great personality as a quarterback, and You know, but all the other things about being a quarterback, I have no idea. I'm on the other side of the ball. Okay, great. Thank you.